Sometimes love leaves before you understand why, and all you're left with are unanswered questions and a heavy heart. But what you don't realize is that Allah doesn't remove people to break you. He removes them to rebuild you. The one meant for you will never have to be begged to stay, because Allah does not let what's written for you drift away. Every heartbreak is a hidden doorway to something far purer, far more peaceful, and far closer to His plan. So don't chase what walked away. Trust that what's gone was never yours, and what's yours will find its way back in Allah's perfect timing. Every heartache has meaning, even when you can't see it. When someone leaves, it may feel like a wound, but sometimes it's actually the beginning of your healing. Allah doesn't remove people to break your spirit. He removes them to protect your peace and redirect your path towards something better. Not all departures are punishments. Some are divine rescues. Allah sees what your eyes can't, the intentions, the timing, the unseen outcomes. What feels like a painful ending might be His way of sparing you from a storm that could have shattered your faith. When Allah closes a chapter in your life, it's because He's writing a new one with wisdom beyond your understanding. The heart may not accept it at first, but over time you'll realize that the goodbye you resisted was actually a gate to your growth. Sometimes the people you begged to stay were never meant to be part of your destiny. Allah knew their presence would block your progress or distract your soul. He took them away, not to hurt you, but to prepare you for something greater, something peaceful, pure, and permanent. Healing begins when you stop chasing what walked away. You can't force what Allah has released. The hands that cling to the past can't receive the future. Let go with grace, knowing that what's written for you doesn't need to be begged for. It will arrive when your heart is ready. Every goodbye carries mercy wrapped in disguise. The tears that fall in sadness are often watering the seeds of your next blessing. Allah's plan might remove comfort for a moment, but He always replaces it with peace that lasts longer than the pain. You may never understand why someone left until you meet what comes next. One day the pieces will fit and you'll whisper Alhamdulillah for what once made you cry. That's the beauty of faith. It turns confusion into clarity with time and trust. Holding on too tightly can blind you to the doors Allah is trying to open. Sometimes you must lose what you wanted to find what you needed. It's in letting go that you create space for the love, opportunities, and peace that were written for you all along. Goodbyes are not endings, they are divine pauses. They teach you to stop depending on people who were never meant to carry your heart and start depending on the one who created it. What Allah removes, He replaces with something your soul truly needs. Allah doesn't take anyone from your life without reason. Every departure serves a purpose to teach, to test, or to transform. When you see it through faith instead of fear, the pain begins to make sense and your heart starts to heal naturally. You were never meant to beg for love that drains you. The right person sent by Allah will bring you peace, not pain. Until then, your solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. Allah uses waiting seasons to refine hearts for the love they're meant to hold. Sometimes you pray for strength and Allah answers by removing what makes you weak. You ask for peace and He takes away what keeps you restless. His way of giving often starts by taking, but only because He knows what will truly fill your heart. Every person who leaves behind a lesson. Some teach patience, others humility, and a few remind you to love yourself without conditions. When you take the lesson instead of the loss, you discover the gift hidden in the pain. You may not see it now, but every goodbye moves you closer to the version of yourself that Allah wants you to become. The heartbreak you're healing from today is shaping the faith, wisdom, and strength you'll need tomorrow. So instead of mourning what's gone, thank Allah for what He's making room for. The pain you feel now is temporary, but the peace He's preparing is eternal. Some goodbyes are not the end of your story, they're just the beginning of the chapter that finally makes sense. A broken heart may feel like the end, but in truth, it's often the beginning of your return to Allah. When everything around you falls apart, the soul finally looks upward for strength. The cracks in your heart are not signs of weakness. They are openings through which faith can enter again. Pain has a way of silencing distractions. When your heart breaks, the world's noise fades and you start hearing your own soul more clearly. In that silence, Allah's presence becomes louder. What once hurt begins to heal as His mercy replaces what people couldn't. Faith isn't built in comfort, it's built in hardship. When you've lost what you thought you couldn't live without, you learn that you were always held by the one who never leaves. Brokenness becomes the soil where faith grows, watered by tears, nurtured by patience, and illuminated by hope. Sometimes Allah lets your heart shatter, so you'll stop giving pieces of it to the wrong people. In the emptiness that follows, you begin to understand that only He can fill it fully. That realization is the birth of true strength, the kind rooted in surrender, not control. When the heart breaks, it sheds illusions. You begin to see people, love, and life differently. What once seemed stable proves fragile, and what once felt painful becomes purposeful. Through loss, Allah teaches you where to place your trust, and it's never in what fades. Tears are not signs of despair, they are signs of cleansing. Every tear that falls in remembrance, every whisper of Ya Allah help me, is a seed of faith being planted in your soul. Pain refines belief in ways peace never could. When faith begins to build, you stop asking asterisk, why me? Asterisk, and start asking asterisk, what is Allah teaching me? Asterisk. That shift changes everything. You begin to see heartbreak not as punishment but as preparation, a way for Allah to clear your path of what doesn't serve your future. Hearts that never break rarely learn humility. But when you've fallen and found no one to lift you but Allah, your faith deepens beyond words. You stop fearing pain because you know it now leads you back to the source of peace. Through heartbreak, Allah removes your dependence on people and replaces it with dependence on Him. The hands that once reached for the world now rise in dua. That moment when you turn your pain into prayer is where transformation begins. Faith doesn't erase pain, it gives it meaning. You'll still feel the ache, but it no longer controls you. You start carrying it with grace, knowing that every hardship is a message. Asterisk, I'm guiding you closer. Asterisk, what breaks you today may be the very thing that builds you tomorrow. When Allah allows your heart to break, He's rebuilding it in a shape that fits peace. The sharp edges of ego, attachment, and pride begin to soften. You start valuing silence over noise, prayer over attention, and sincerity over validation. That's spiritual maturity. Every heartbreak leaves behind wisdom. You learn to love more purely, to forgive more easily, and to walk away more peacefully. Pain becomes a teacher that no book could replace, and faith becomes the diploma you earn through patience and surrender. Healing begins when you realize that Allah never left you even when everyone else did. He was there in every sleepless night, in every tear you hid, and in every moment you whispered His name under your breath. That awareness rebuilds faith brick by brick. Over time, you'll see that your brokenness wasn't your downfall, it was your rebuilding. Allah allowed what hurt to humble you, and what humbled you brought you closer to Him. The pain you once resented becomes the reason you finally found peace. So if your heart is heavy today, don't curse the breaking, thank the builder. You are being reshaped into someone stronger, wiser, and purer. Allah breaks hearts only to rebuild them upon His remembrance. And when He rebuilds you, you'll rise softer in tone, firmer in faith, and full of light. The value of your heart was never meant to be defined by people. Some will stay, others will walk away, but Allah remains constant. The Creator who shaped you from nothing doesn't base your worth on who accepts or rejects you. Your value comes from being His creation, not someone's preference. Too often, we tie our happiness to human approval. When people love us, we feel worthy. When they leave, we crumble. But true confidence is built when you detach your worth from temporary hearts and root it in the one whose love never fades. Allah does not look at your popularity, your relationships, or your status. He looks at your sincerity. The ones who left did not reduce your value. They merely revealed who couldn't handle your light. What remains after loss is not emptiness, it's purity. If someone walks away, let them. The plan of Allah doesn't depend on their presence. You may lose a person, but you'll never lose the provision that was written for you. Every departure that hurts you is also clearing space for something better to grow. When people distance themselves, don't chase them. The heart that runs after those who left forgets the one who never moved. Allah's love does not need to compete with theirs. It's enough to fill every void if you let it. Your worth is not negotiable, it's permanent. Whether loved, ignored, praised, or forgotten by people, you remain honored in the sight of your Lord when your heart remembers Him. That's the measure of value that truly matters. Sometimes Allah allows rejection to redirect you. The door that closed was saving you from something unseen. You think you lost affection, but in reality you gained direction. When you stop measuring your worth by people, you start measuring it by peace. It's painful when someone leaves, but it's more painful to forget yourself trying to keep them. The moment you stop begging for love and start nurturing your bond with Allah, you realize you never needed human validation. You needed divine connection. Those who truly love you will never make you question your dignity. They'll honor your presence because they see you as a gift from Allah. But even if no one does, know that Allah has already written your importance in His book. You were not created to be liked by everyone. Even the prophets, peace be upon them, faced rejection, yet their worth never changed. So why let a few opinions define your value when the one who created hearts already knows yours? The more you tie your happiness to Allah, the less power people have to break you. You stop asking, why did they leave? And start saying, asterisk, Ya Allah, guide me toward what's best. Asterisk. That mindset is freedom. It turns heartbreak into hope. There is beauty in realizing that your story isn't in anyone's hands but Allah's. You don't need to convince people to stay to feel whole. The one who wrote your destiny already planned who will walk with you and who will walk away. When someone exits your life, don't take it as proof of inadequacy. Sometimes Allah removes those who blind you to your own strength. Their absence forces you to depend on Him, and that dependency builds a confidence that no relationship could give. Your worth doesn't fluctuate like human emotions. It's anchored in something eternal, the love of the one who never leaves. So even when you're alone, you're not unloved. You're being drawn closer to a companionship that outlasts all others. So lift your head, even if your heart feels heavy. You are not defined by who walked away, but by who continues to hold you together. The love of people may fade, but Allah's care never does. When you remember that, you'll never beg to be valued again. You'll already know your worth. When Allah takes something away, your heart may tremble, but His wisdom never fails. Every removal is a form of mercy, even if wrapped in pain. What you see as an ending is often the beginning of something that will serve your soul far more than what you lost. Loss is not always a sign of rejection. Sometimes it's divine redirection. Allah doesn't ruin lives, He rebuilds them differently. The plan you prayed for may not have worked, but the peace you'll gain from His plan will prove that He always knew better. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll thank Allah for what didn't stay. Some people, opportunities and desires were removed not to destroy your path, but to purify it. He takes away what harms even when you think it helps. When Allah removes, He's protecting your heart from unseen damage. He sees conversations you never heard, intentions you couldn't sense, and futures that would have broken you. His removal is not cruelty, it's care, shaped through divine knowledge. Every detour Allah allows carries purpose. He closes doors to guide you to better ones, even if the waiting feels endless. Patience is the bridge between what you lost and what's on its way. And Allah never leaves a patient heart unrewarded. What you perceive as delay is often divine timing. If He took it now, it's because it wasn't ready for you or you weren't ready for it. The replacement is being prepared behind the curtain of the unseen, where only Allah knows how perfectly it fits your future. Sometimes Allah has to empty your hands so He can fill them with something greater. As long as they cling to what's temporary, they can't receive what's eternal. Letting go hurts, but holding on to what Allah has released hurts even more. When people leave, remember, it's not a sign of your inadequacy. It's a sign of His protection. He removes those who would slow your growth, weaken your peace, or harm your faith. What's gone was never meant to stay beyond its lesson. Faith grows most when you lose what you thought you needed. In that emptiness, you discover that Allah is enough. He replaces dependency on people with reliance on Him, and in doing so, He strengthens your heart far beyond what comfort ever could. Allah removes illusions so you can see reality clearly. Sometimes He lets your plans collapse to show you that His design is stronger. When everything breaks, that's when you finally notice that His hand never let go. When you say, Ya Allah, give me what's best, understand that best might not always look beautiful at first. It may come through heartbreak, distance, or loss. But what follows, peace, clarity, and contentment, will remind you that His best is worth every tear. The ones you lost were never yours to begin with. They were only entrusted for a time. Allah takes back what He loaned so He can give you what's meant to stay. His replacements are never random. They are precise, purposeful, and filled with barakah. Allah's removal is never without replacement. He replaces pain with peace, loss with lessons, and heartbreak with healing. The problem is we often stare at the closed door so long that we forget to notice the one He's quietly opening behind us. When your plans fall apart, remember that Allah doesn't ruin, He refines. He takes away comfort to awaken gratitude. He removes people to bring you back to prayer. He shifts your world so you'll stop building around what was never meant to last. You may not feel it now, but the day will come when you look back and realize that what you lost made space for what your heart truly needed. Allah doesn't let go of anything good for you. He only removes what would have led you astray. If He takes you away from a certain place, it's because He's calling you towards something higher. The scenery may change, but His mercy travels with you. Sometimes, moving away from what's familiar is the only way to grow into what's destined. When Allah removes a blessing, He replaces it with wisdom. You learn patience, resilience, and humility traits that last longer than any worldly gain. The real replacement isn't always physical, it's spiritual. He gives you what the soul craves more than the eyes can see. He doesn't remove to empty your life, He removes to redirect your heart. Every time you say, Why Ya Allah? The answer echoes softly, because I love you too much to let you settle for less. His mercy hides behind what you call misfortune. When Allah replaces, He doesn't give you replicas, He gives you revelations. The next chapter won't look like the last one. It will be better. His way of healing is not through repetition, but through renewal. He doesn't fix the old, He gifts you something new. Pain teaches you to value peace. Separation teaches you gratitude. Loss teaches you patience. The removal itself becomes a classroom where faith matures. Every hardship is a lesson in disguise, preparing you for the ease that follows. When Allah took something away, it wasn't to punish you, it was to purify you. He saw attachments that dimmed your light and emotions that pulled you down. So He intervened gently, even if it felt like breaking. His goal was never ruin, but rebirth. Faith means trusting the unseen, believing that the hands that took something away are the same hands that are preparing something better. Your job is not to understand immediately, but to keep believing that the author of your story knows its ending perfectly. Every soul that has trusted Allah through loss has later said, Alhamdulillah. That's the pattern of faith: confusion first, then clarity; pain first, then peace. The storm that removes is the same one that cleanses, and after it passes, everything feels lighter. Allah's replacements don't just fill the empty space, they elevate it. He takes away what drains your spirit and gives you what nourishes it. When He removes, He's not cutting you down, He's pruning you so you can grow stronger, wiser, and closer to Him. So don't fear what's gone. What left was never meant to last, but what's coming will be worth every tear. Allah removes to replace, not to ruin. And the one who trusts this truth walks through every loss with dignity, hope, and peace. Every blessing that's written for you will reach you not because you chased it, but because Allah willed it. You don't have to fight what's meant to flow naturally. The moment you stop forcing outcomes, you make space for divine timing to unfold in its perfect way. What's meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never yours. Forcing something only drains your heart and delays your peace. The believer's strength is not in control but in trust. Trust that Allah's timing never fails, even when patience feels heavy. Sometimes Allah withholds something you desire deeply because He knows it would harm your soul more than help it. When you stop pushing against His will and start flowing with it, life becomes lighter. What is written will come not by your force but by His mercy. The heart that trusts doesn't chase endlessly. It works, it prays, and then it lets go. True reliance is knowing that your efforts matter, but only Allah decides the outcome. You're not in charge of results, you're in charge of faith. When something is destined for you, it will align effortlessly. You won't have to beg, manipulate, or break yourself to keep it. Allah makes the path clear when the time is right. What's written for you fits not because it's easy, but because it's peaceful. Every forced connection ends in exhaustion when you try to hold